This is Chicago. At the dawn of the 21st century, Chicago's media was dominated by a handful of major corporations. But a resistance movement arose to free Chicago's media from their clutches. One player in this movement is the Chicago Independent Media Center and its TV show, Chicago Independent Television. The Independent Media Center is a worldwide network of grassroots correspondents committed to using the tools of the media for promoting social and economic justice. You are watching this month's dispatch from the Chicago Independent Media Center.
Good day to you, fellow members of the intergalactic resistance against dystopian bastardry. It is I, George Orwell, with an urgent message for planet Earth as it embarks on a new orbit, transmitting via the Juice channeling portal. Our time is short, so let's get straight to the point, shall we? This transmission goes out to all you internet citizens, denizens of the one remaining free frequency, in whose hands rests the fate of humanity. Lord, help us. When I last appeared to you, I warned you, noobs, you must not lose the internet. Now, before I proceed, let us clarify one crucial thing. The internet is not virtual reality, it is actual reality. Are you still with me? Good. Now ask yourselves, would you let some fascist dictate with whom you can and cannot communicate? Because that's what happens every time a government blacklists a website domain. Would you let anyone force you to get all your information from cable TV? That's effectively the case if you allow corporations to kill net neutrality. Would you let the thought police install telescreens in your house, monitor and record everything you do, every time you move, every word you've read, to peer into the most private nook of all, your head? Because that's what happens when you let your governments monitor the net and enact mandatory data retention laws! If you answered no to all those questions, then we can safely deduce that terms like online, IRL, and in cyberspace are newspeak. They confuse the truth. There is no cybersphere, there is only life here. It follows that if you have an oppressive internet, you have an oppressive society too. Remember, online is real life. Your digital rights are no different from everyday human rights. And don't give me that BS that you don't care about privacy because you have nothing to hide. That's pure doublethink. As Comrade Snowden clearly explained, that's like saying you don't care about free speech because you have nothing to say. Stick that up your memory holes and smoke it, noobs. Pig's ass! The portal is closing. I'm losing you. I'll leave you with a new tool to use. I assume you've all been fitted with one of these spying devices. Well, here's an app you can use in spite of this. It's called Signal, and yes, it's free and simple. Install it and tell all your contacts to mingle. Then all your calls and texts will be encrypted. So even if Big Brother sees them, they won't be able to read them. Ha ha! Now that's a smartphone. Our time is up. Until the next transmission, heed the words of George Orwell. Or should I say, George Torwell. Remember, just as I went to Spain to fight the dirty fascists, you can come to Onionland now and fight Big Brother's filthy tactics. If you're a pro, run a node and strengthen the code. Or if you're in the outer party and can afford it, send Tor some of your dough. Now go forth and Big Brother, that mendacious mother-fucking sucking bastard son of a corporatist bitch.
My name is David Sotomayor. Some of you may know me as Jade Sotomayor, as a public figure for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 1. My cousin Edward was one of the victims, and I cannot even understand why this would happen. This man was amazing. He treated all of us so well. He was just, anything you did, he had a smile on his face. I haven't met one person who has ever said that they'd be upset with him. And this morning I woke up to find out through fans of mine that my cousin had passed in this shooting. And all I want to say is that now I'm so glad to see that a group of you all come out here to try to make a difference, because as a public figure and on being just social media, I never had the chance to meet people that really care about making a difference. And right now, I would love to meet each and every one of you to make something happen, because honestly, this needs to stop, and we need to make sure that we know that we are here and we are strong, and no matter what, I could not get out of bed, and Progress Bar came and they told me, let's make something happen, and I know that my cousin Edward would want that. So I combed my hair, I put my weave on, I put my flip-flops and my sunglasses, and I made sure I came out here. Because you know what, we stand strong and proud, and they are not going to ruin our pride ever. So thank you guys for all being out here tonight.
This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Only what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Only what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
When a kid gets in trouble at school, we used to send them to the principal's office. Now we're suspending, expelling, or even arresting kids for the smallest misbehaviors. This trend is called the school-to-prison pipeline. There are pipelines all across the country. Nationwide, as many as 95% of out-of-school suspensions are for nonviolent misbehaviors like these. In one town, the cops were called to break up a fight, a water balloon fight. When you crack down harshly on kids for minor infractions, you're telling them one thing: you are a problem. Suspending or expelling a kid increases his or her chance to drop out of high school. And we know high school dropouts are 3.5 times more likely than high school graduates to be arrested in their lifetime. Sending a kid to juvenile detention center also makes crime more likely in their future. Kids who are incarcerated are 67% more likely to be back in jail by the age of 25 than similar kids who didn't go to prison. And this zero-tolerance policy doesn't apply to everyone equally. In Wake County, North Carolina, which has one of the largest school-to-prison pipelines, 40% of black kids caught with cell phones were suspended, while only 17% of white kids were suspended for the same thing. Though blacks and Latinos make up only 29% of public school students, they make up 70% of students involved in in-school arrests or who are referred to law enforcement. Schools even crack down on special needs students, arresting them for the very behaviors that stem from their special needs. 32% of youth in juvenile detention are special needs students. That's the school-to-prison pipeline, another way that the United States incarcerates more people than any other country on earth.
All 75 people have agreed that their goal is to have an apartment. And that's how we judge success. There'll be two different types of apartments: a bridge apartment and a permanent apartment. A bridge is a temporary apartment until other things get in place, and then they go from the bridge apartment straight into permanent housing. Some of the residents under the viaduct had some concerns, trust level, and we told them, because we met today, that that's understandable, that there not be a lot of trust. This has never happened before, but we brought in other people who've had success from going from a bridge unit to permanent housing to speak to their concerns. We also said that each person is now assigned a caseworker or a case manager, and that case manager will kind of go through them step by step what needs to happen to make sure that they go from on the streets into either a bridge unit or permanent housing The goal is to have all that occur on the north side of Chicago, and that's been their request. They'd like to be placed on the north side. Part of what we're doing now is working with all the SROs to get that in place as well. Will the new folks under the viaducts be included in subsequent rounds of the pilot program? So this is a pilot project to house these 75 individuals. After that group is housed, then we go to other encampments throughout the entire city. So we know where, at least the Department of Family Support Services knows where a lot of those encampments are, and we go to encampment by encampment by encampment. So they'll go from here probably to the south side or the west side of the city where there are other encampments. We don't want to show favoritism to the north side versus the south side and west side. Will the new encampments be addressed? We chose this particular encampment because it was one of the largest, if not, I think it was the largest encampment in the city. It's also the most diverse. So we want to learn a lot of information from this and then take that information to these other encampments, and that information we learn here will help us with housing these other people. What we're finding though is for any pilot to work, two factors have to be in place. The wraparound service model, number one, and enough affordable housing, number two. So there's a couple of ways we're addressing the wraparound services and the affordable housing, both at the same time. We're getting some money from hospitals because what we find is that when people live outside, their medical costs quadruple, and hospitals will start paying some of those costs, so it's cheaper to actually pay money for housing than to pay for their medical care later on. So we're getting it that way, and then I worked with the Chicago I worked with the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless to get a 4% surcharge for Airbnb, and that money, I made a deal, goes directly to address homeless encampments. And then we're also using a lot of Chicago Low-Income Housing Trust Fund dollars that goes specifically to people earning between 0 and 15% of the area median income. The concerns that we're hearing from all over the place, some people are concerned that the length of time it's taking, and it is slow, but we're learning a lot. Some people are concerned that more people will come back to the viaduct, and we told them some people may, but we address it as it happens. At this point in time, the emphasis will not be on uptown, it will be in other parts of the city, so that other parts of the city get the same type of care that uptown has received. We don't want to communicate that uptown gets special choices. Uptown was chosen because of its size and because it was such a diverse. We thought it would be a huge learning opportunity. And let me see. We've heard some concerns about people who are homeless. Their concern mainly is there's some distrust. They think that they won't be able to afford it. We've told them they can earn $0. They'll still be accepted. Some of them were afraid that because of past history of arrests, especially about felony arrests, they could not qualify. We told them that wouldn't matter at all. Some of them talked about their alcohol or drug history, and we told them that wouldn't be a problem at all either, that we take people at all stages, people who are actively using, people who are trying to cut back, and people who are now clean and sober and want to live a life of sobriety. It doesn't matter. But we find that what research shows is that once people are housed, they have fewer overdoses and they become more open to addressing their alcohol and drug dependence if they want to, but it's not required.
Newsflash! Humans are migrating en masse. Many in search of work and better circumstance. Many more displaced by wars and massacres. Predatory trade pacts, ethnic clashes, historical fractures, climate change impacts. Some call them refugees, others illegal immigrants. Whatever the label, there are more displaced people today than ever in history. Collectively, they form one of the world's largest nations, a flagless country of tens of millions, half of them children. So how is the world handling this crisis today? Surely the wisest, richest societies are responding in enlightened ways. We now invite 3 guests from such countries. First up, business magnate, presidential candidate Donald Trump. My fellow Americans, our great nation's become a racking dump. Thanks to that communist Obama chump, our southern border is an open door for any Juan to come. Illegals are pouring through the country, scooping all the dollars up. 12 million undocumented aliens, there's 4% of us, and 6 million are Mexicans. I'm told they're all drug dealers, rapists, and criminals, and hundreds are working in my Trump hotel businesses. I just don't get it. After all we've given them, we signed NAFTA, which trashed their economic system, put them out of work, and raised the price of tortillas. But despite our efforts, we can't seem to satisfy those taco-munching peasants. Let's bring in Katie Hopkins, a tabloid paper columnist. What's your take on immigrants? It's the day of apocalypse, and the EU's doing nothing to stop loads of unwashed droves from crossing over the ocean like cockroaches. They get on wobbly boats and drown, if we're lucky. Then the survivors arrive on Greek islands and head for this fine country, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, where they swamp our local culture and welfare system. Feral migrants, spreading like the norovirus. We've had to put up miles of fences to stop the tide of outsiders. With jihadi names, weird clothes, and cruel customs, they're robbing us of our own country. Truly disgusting. Next up then, Australia's Prime Minister Tony Abbott. Sounds like a bad problem you have there, but we don't have it. We've solved it. You have? Of course, we have all sorts of desperate people trying to get to our shores, but we got it all sorted. How? Well, tell us. We took this bloody UN refugee convention and chucked it in the dunny. To all asylum seekers, we shut our borders. We turn their boats back mid-voyage or bribe people smugglers to do it for us. And if anyone slips through to our shores after all that, we lock them up in detention camps on remote islands like Manus and Nauru. For how long? Indefinitely. Heinous. True. Genius. Definitely. How do you get away with this? It's easy as killing the ABC when both major parties are vying for the cruelest policy on refugees, and you ban anyone reporting on the camps and what goes down inside. Even rape and child abuse. Out of sight, out of mind. Tony, when I'm president in these parts, I'm gonna make you head of immigration. You're hired. To guard our border, we'll erect a huge rampart. And you know, when it comes to building walls, I got it down to a damn art. Aussies, you're a shining beacon of vicious cruelty. If you can do it, by jingo, so can we. Quick go, send our gunships and British Navy. Blow those sweaty Syrians straight out of the flipping grey sea. Ripper Katie, glad to be an inspiration. Well, it's great to see such close collaboration between nations, but is it ethical? Let's pose that question to Mr. Moonseed from the NGO Real Humans Say Welcome. Greetings, xenophobic pundits. My preaching from the pulpit today shall focus on the gleeful topic of oneness. Different cultures can bring new and positive customs, great food, music, yoga, hot people, a melting pot of abundance. We need to open our borders and receive the magic. Let people roam the globe, choose love, not fear and panic. Unless, of course, they're trying to migrate to Atlantis, which is reserved for me, the highest race on the planet. Multiculturalism means the death of our fragile white race. They're trying to wipe us out without a trace. Only white countries are forced to mix with other ethnic types. Dead right. If we get lax on immigrants, it'll be white genocide. Genocide? That's an interesting choice of expression. Didn't you yourselves migrate to the countries you now live in and push the locals out of their homes, imposing your own language, laws, and culture across their homelands? Exactly. You saw how that went for Native Americans and for Aborigines. We are living proof of the danger of immigrants. They'll steal the land we stole, invade our barbecue areas. I'd rather leave than witness this. Don't try to come to Atlantis, you barbarians! How's it, my Chinas? Let's call an intermission. I've been listening in and it seems like it's time for one of my Blixum interjections. Bilderberg from the New World... no introductions. I'm pleased to see that you're focusing your anxieties on the hordes of poor people trying to flee to your borders and shores, seeking sanctuary from scarcity, wars and eco-catastrophes, rather than focusing on these migrants who cross all borders at will, overriding the laws of your countries, wreaking havoc, destroying thousands of local jobs and paying no taxes. Corporations! Corporations are people too, with special needs. Right now, while you scream about migrants and the refugees, you're about to see the signing of 3 giant corporate treaties: the TTIP, TISA, and TPP. Free trade agreements. Indeed, so free that they're being negotiated in secret. The only details we've seen are thanks to these drafts leaked by whistleblowers and published by WikiLeaks. Worried about migrants affecting the economy when they barge in? Wait till you see these trade pacts annihilate the job market, slash wages, and leave collective bargaining rights discarded. Worried about your sovereign laws? These treaties will override them, so foreign companies can make you a lawsuit target if your country ever threatens their potential margins. Worried about guarding your culture from outsiders? These treaties will extend copyright terms for decades after, siphoning knowledge out of the public domain and robbing you of your collective culture and scientific gain. And the spoils from all this plundering will be taken, not by local populations, but by foreign corporations.
We welcome that kind of immigrant here.
Here too, we give them visas and let them leak the queue. My faithful minions, I knew we could count on your commitment. Whoever said your immigration policies lacked compassion and wisdom. Thanks to our guests for engaging in this conversation on the contentious issue of migrations on the planet. Mass exoduses like the ones we're witnessing cause real problems and tensions, there's no question. But as we've discovered, when it comes to managing borders and cultural habitats, these migrations are just one part of a larger pattern. Yet this is the part we're told to fear and fret about. Why does that happen? By now we should have gathered this. When politics, lobbyists, business and media machinate to divert, scramble and mangle our view of the world we're inhabiting, we'd be wise to ask ourselves, whose interest does this skewed perception actually benefit? Someday historians will look back and label this the age of mass displacements and assess how we handled it. Will they condemn our blindness or celebrate our vision and humanity? That's up to us in the present, where history is happening.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Kid Jungle once again from Power Style Radio Show, Tuesdays 8:30 to 11:30 Central Standard Time. I want to do a big shout out to Q4 Radio AM 1680. Make sure you listen daily at www.QUE4.org. Create beauty and defend it.